सभी को प्रणाम और आप सभी का स्वागत है हमारे इस सातवें और अंतिम सत्र में। ये जो इंटरनेशनल वर्कशॉप होने जा रहा है और आज के हमारे इस सत्र के लिए हमारी जो रिसोर्स पर्सन है विनीता दुबे पांडे जी। मैं पहले इनके बारे में आप सभी को मैं अवगत कराना चाहूँगा। विनीता दुबे पांडे जी जो है वो भारत में कानपुर में उनका जन्म हुआ है। शी हैज लिव्ड इन सेवरल कंट्रीज अराउंड द वर्ल्ड and currently resides in North California. Her family moved to Zambia, Africa, when she was 9 years old. She then went to St. Mary's boarding school in Nainital, India, and later to college in the US, getting her degree in computer science, Iowa State, with a minor in comparative religions. Vinita has been spiritual from a young age, with an urge to know the truth. After a mystical experience when she was 13, she started meditating and become spiritually inclined. She has studied several religions, wisdom traditions, mystics and new age spirituality and ancient civilizations for over 30 years. Her continuous learning in the connection of science and spirituality includes quantum physics, sound vibrations, Ayurveda, Vedic astrology, yoga, meditation, healing and near death experiences. ये बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग वर्ड है लास्ट वाला, नियर डेथ एक्सपीरियंसेस, क्योंकि मृत्यु तक जाकर के या उस क्षण को समीप जाकर के वापस आने का अनुभव करना, अनुभूति करना, हो सकता है उस एक क्षण में हम मृत्यु के उस पार भी चले जाएं। ये एक अलग किस्म का प्रयोग है। सो ऐसे प्रयोग वो करते रहे हैं और कई बार कई मुश्किलों का सामना करते हुए भी उन्होंने इस ज्ञान को दुनिया के सामने लाने का प्रयास किया है। उसमें क्या क्या उनको झेलना पड़ा वो भी पता है, क्योंकि लोग ऐसे ही सहजता से कुछ भी नहीं देते हैं। फिर भी उन्होंने पूरा प्रयास किया है कि इस ज्ञान को, यानी द ओरिजिनल नॉलेज जो भी है, उसको दुनिया के सामने लाने का। सो वी हम्बली वेलकम टू यू दीदी। प्लीज स्टार्ट आवर टुडे सेशन।
नमस्कारम। ओम ह्रीं श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम ऐं सरस्वती नमः। ओम नमः शिवाय, शिवाय नमः। Pranams to everyone. I'm sorry I will be speaking in English because my Hindi, I've had only 3 years of Hindi, unfortunately, and I think in English living in America, so I hope you don't mind. If you want me to repeat anything in Hindi, please let me know, or Bhajang Dada can help me then. Today, I will present to you something which is very unique, which is the true history of Nadi. Nadis are ancient palm leaf manuscripts, and Nadi is a Tamil word, which means in search of. So I will be talking about what is the history that is traceable. Some of it is verbal, and it is a tradition that goes back thousands of years. And as you know, even in the Heritage Foundation, we have many of these ancient manuscripts. And one of these, because the rishis, the sages, wrote on many subjects: astrology, science, Ayurveda. But the rishis also wrote individual predictions for people. And that is what Nadi astrology is. It's based on Jyotish, but it is like the rishis and Shiva writing a personal birth chart predictions for an individual. So I don't know how many of you know this. We can go into what a Nadi is. As I said, it's Nadi's ancient palm leaves manuscripts. And these ones in South India, they are inscribed in Tamil. In North India, it's usually in Sanskrit. So they contain the past, present, future life details of specific individuals with their names. So, when you go to a palm leaf reader, all you do is you give them your thumbprint impression, okay? Right thumb for male, left for female. Then they will go and look for a bundle which matches your thumbprint category. And if they find bundles for your thumbprint impression category, they will then go and read leaf by leaf. You don't have to give them any information whatsoever. It's not like astrology where you have to give your date and time of birth. You don't even have to give them your name. All you give them is a thumb impression. And from that thumb impression pattern, they will start going through the bundles if they find the bundles. So it's like a database lookup, like reading every record of a database table. And you know how it's like a spreadsheet, it's a first row. So they will say, Aapka naam Vinita hai kya? You say yes. Is your father's name Vinod? You say no. As soon as you say no, they go to the next leaf and they start reading, is this your name? Is this your date of birth? Is this your father's name? And so on. So this is how, when a Nadi leaf is found, then you will find it very astonishing that thousands of years ago, the rishis wrote your name, your parents' name, your date of birth, everything is there on that palm leaf. And it will then have predictions about your future also. The main thing is actually the remedies. This is what is important, because the rishis did not write these palm leaves just for our predictions. They actually wrote it to make our life better, to make our lives easier. So they'll give certain remedies, which could be in terms of pujas, in terms of chanting, in terms of donation, to remove the karma. Certain karma can be removed or reduced. And that is the reason why Ma Parvati Devi, she asked her consort, Lord Shiva, ki in the Kali Yuga, my children will have a lot of karmic load. Can you please reduce or remove their loads for all these good children? And that's why Shiva gave this remedies to the rishis to write down for individuals. So no, not everybody has a leaf, but if you're blessed, you will find a leaf for yourself. And so that's why I said karmic diagnosis, guidance, and remedies. So this is what a Nadi palm leaf astrology is about. Okay. Now, like I said, this is not really about prediction. The primary purpose of Nadis was never prediction on its own sake. It was to bring relief from suffering and to offer guidance and hope. Because a lot of people, not just about your problems, whether it's health, finance, or relationship problems. So, it's very interesting that the Vedic approach, the Vedic traditions approach, I have been in IT for over 30 years, and I have a computer science degree. And so my approach, even in corporate world in the US, I worked in the Silicon Valley, is always been a problem-solving approach, right? So that is the same scientific approach, the scientific method, because, the rishis are spiritual scientists. And so they state the problem statement, like they'll say, this person, because of their karma, might have an operation. Okay. So that is a problem statement. Then they will give the root cause of that problem, which will be some karma, some pitradosh, something with your chart, planets, some root cause will be defined. Okay. Then they will give the solution. So that's a typical root cause analysis that you would do in IT, of course, as well. And so that's why the diagnosis is given just like you'd go to a doctor, and then the remedies are given. And it's always going to be framed as part of a spiritual framework, not just scientific, but a spiritual framework where it will give your soul's purpose. It will give you an impetus also in your spiritual life, because the final goal is moksha or liberation. Okay. And as in my first Nadi reading, my first Nadi reading was in May of 2024. And the opening statement was by Ma Parvati, who's the consort of Lord Shiva. And she's saying that, Kali Yuga is about to start, and there will be a lot of karmic load, a lot of karma will be generated. And before Kali Yuga starts, can you please, do this? So that is why we can assume that these nadis, these predictions, were written in the Dwapar Yuga. Now, according to one methodology and one sort of way of thinking, because there are many ways to calculate when Kali Yuga started. Was it with the departure of Krishna, or was it with the establishment of this king? I'm forgetting his name. But when did Kali Yuga start? But the general consensus is that approximately 3102 BCE is when Kali Yuga started. So the thing is, the approximate age, now again, we cannot calculate this scientifically, but approximately 5,200 years ago is by when all these Nadi leaves messages were written. Okay. So how were they written? In a meditative state, the rishis telepathically heard the conversation of Ma Parvati and Lord Shiva. You see, even in the Ramayana, in the beginning, you will hear, Vedvyas or some rishi is hearing this conversation between Shiva and Parvati, and then they're writing it down. In the same way, in the Nadi, the Ma Parvati is speaking to Ishwar, Shiva, and moved by the compassion of souls with the karmic burden of Kali Yuga, Parvati implored Shiva to provide these remedies that I had mentioned, right? So as you know, there's the main 7 rishis are the ones who did it. But there are many rishis, many beings, many siddhas who have written these nadis. And one of my endeavors in this research that I've been doing is to find out all the different types of nadis. Like in the Vedas, you have so many rishis who contributed to the Vedas, right? The same way, the nadis are also shastra, because all our shastra, all our ancient texts were written either on palm leaves or on tambar patra, which is the copper plates, or on leather or something, some medium, right? So there were many rishis across India and perhaps greater Bharat that wrote on these mediums. But you see, what happened is every 300 years or so, these leaves or the medium that it was written on was starting to break down. So some king, somebody used to commission the copying over of these messages every, say, 300 to 500 years, right? So this transcription cycle continued from 3100 BCE or so over time. And so that is why this is the original inscription. And then there's a transcription cycle, And so this is why I say that the Saptarishis inscribed the first leaves on the Dwapar Yuga, which is about 5,200 years ago. Now, approximately in 1540 CE is when, we had a lot of, as you know, a lot of conquests and invasions in India. And a lot of these leaves in the south were kept in the palace of Tanjore. And it was attacked in 1540 CE, AD, as we often call it. Now, there's a story, that this Brahmin got this dream or a vision or a message from Sage Agastya to rescue these leaves and move them away. If that hadn't happened, a lot of these leaves would have been not been with us. So over time, we have lost a lot of leaves, whether they degenerated and they, we lost them, in some remote temple or some room or something. They have thousands of these bundles have just degenerated. Some people, just burnt it. Like I said, in North India, most of them were destroyed because of the conquest, the Islamic conquest. Most of these shastras, including the nadis, were burnt. Now the leaves were, there's one patron, I will talk about it later. There was a German researcher who carbon dated one of the leaves, and his leaf came out to be approximately 1600 to 1645. Now, unfortunately, and I've talked to Bhujang Babadeji about this, is that we must carbon date some of these manuscripts to establish when was the last time this transcription took place. So at least for the Nadi, I don't know about the other manuscripts, but at least for the Nadi, this German man is the only person who has carbon dated a Nadi leaf, which is quite shocking because nobody else in India, amongst millions and millions of leaves, has ever carbon dated any of these leaves. Now, during the British period, which is around 1850 to 1875, is when these Nadi bundles were obtained by the British. And the Valluvar family, see, like you have a Jyotishi. In Tamil Nadu, they are called Valluvar. They are the astrologer families. Now, these families actually came from Banaras. They were called by the Pallava kings or the other kings of South India from Banaras to become astrologers, to become the Pandits for the southern kingdoms. And they were entrusted. So the British people who ruled over even the Tanjore area, and they were in charge of the Tanjore Palace and the famous museum. And I'll talk about the Marathas. And people don't know the Marathas actually ruled from Tanjore as well. So the British took over, and they employed these Valluvar, these Jyotishis of South India, to take care of these bundles. And there were, thousands, if not millions of these bundles, okay? A lot of them were stored in the Saraswati Mahal, which is in the complex of the Tanjore Palace. And I've been there actually in October. Unfortunately, it was Gandhi Jayanti and I couldn't see these ancient palm leaf bundles which are stored there. So today there are custodian families. So, after the British left, unfortunately, the British took some of these bundles to England. And I hope to work with the government of India and the British government to get these bundles back from London, because they have bundles on science, on astrology, on Ayurveda, on various other subjects that they took to England. But the individual predictions, they've thought it's useless. What are they going to do with individual predictions? So they gave those bundles to the Valluvar families. Now, originally, we don't know how many Valluvar families there were, but I've been interviewing these families in South India to establish some sort of verbal history. Who are the families? So I have decoded that there were at least 4 to 7 main Valluvar families that were entrusted with these bundles. And then, as the family tree grew, the library stayed common, but these families grew, and some of them are in North India, in Maharashtra, they're all over India. But you see, a lot of these families stopped practicing. So there was a degradation in the number of people who were even reading the Nadis. But there still are, and hopefully we can maintain this tradition into the future. So like I said, these are the families that now I have documented, because unfortunately this has not been documented anywhere as to who are these people who have these Nadi leaves, because they are in private libraries, okay? They are not with the government of India or some museum or something. So these are some of these families. And like I said, they obtained it from the British around 1850 to 1875 is when these families started practicing on their own. So I've mentioned most of this. Now, here you see certain names. Sri Sami Sachidanandam, his descendant, one of his descendants, continues to practice till today. His son was Arul Shiva Arumugam Shivasami. Now, Shivasami is the person who's actually read PM Modi's Nadi and also Amit Shah's Nadi. I also know certain other politicians and their Nadi readers. Many gurus also go to these Nadi readers. I know 3 of these families. These other 2 have actually stopped practicing. So I've come to know many Nadi readers sitting in America, and I've been fortunate now because of the internet that I can go there. Now, this is the revelation that I want to make today. And like I said, the carbon dating of leaves, what we know is that this man, Thomas Ritter, he did his carbon dating of his leaf in 1995. And because he's a researcher and everything, and an author, he got it carbon dated in Germany. So the interesting thing about his carbon dating, because it came out to be approximately 1600 to 1645 because of the deviation, right? Standard deviation, which is approximately 350 to 400 years. Okay. Now, the most Nadi readers, and if you go to their websites, and Arul Shivarumagam, which is, I told you, is a very famous family in the Nadi. If you go to their website also, and I've talked to them also, they will say that the Maratha king, Sarfoji Maharaj, he is the one who sanctioned the last transcription, the copying over of these leaves. And so I studied the Maratha Empire and, who were there. The thing is that because this leaf predates the Maratha rule in Tamil Nadu, so when this Venkoji Bhosale, sorry, he established the Maratha Empire in Tanjore in 1674. So there is no way that the Marathas could have sanctioned it because it predates the Maratha Empire in Tamil Nadu. And again, you see, people just go to these Nadi readers and whatever they say, they just believe them. But nobody has scientifically looked at the correlation of carbon dating a leaf, going into history, seeing who could have been the kings that could have sanctioned this. So everybody says Sarfoji and all that, but Sarfoji was much later, Sarfoji 1 and 2. So it's obviously not the Marathas. This timeline overlaps more of the Nayak. The Nayaks were another royal family of Tamil Nadu. This overlaps the time when they were ruling in Tamil Nadu. So this is a correlation. Again, no one has done Nadi history. Nobody has done. It's been very verbal, very loose. It's never been taken in a very scholarly way till now. So I like to go deep dive, and I do all this research. So then I had a leaf. I was fortunate enough to get one leaf. So when both sides of the leaf are written for you, you can actually take that leaf home. So I brought it to the US, and I said, okay, I'm going to carbon date my leaf. And my leaf, actually, I was going to get it and show you here, but I have that leaf. So my leaf is only the second Nadi leaf to be carbon dated. And I just got the results a few days ago, just in time for this conference, because I got it on Monday morning. It has been dated as between 1755 and 1805. So approximately 1770 is sort of the median age. But, because of standard deviation, again, it could be anything between 1755 and 1805 CE. Okay. So this has been done for the first time in a very reputable American lab, which again, because of the Western audience, it gives it greater third-party sort of, this reputable lab being done in the US. It just, for the Western audience, especially, it gives them this sort of confidence that yes, it's legit, it's legitimate. So it is significant. Like I said, this carbon dating is significant for many reasons. Why? Because it also establishes the authenticity of Nadi readers. A lot of people say they are fake, and all of this, some of these people are just copying over and writing on leaves. And yes, there are many fake readers out there. But this Nadi reader, which I went to, and of course, if you know that one Nadi leaf had this carbon dating, of course, the entire bundle would be that. And the entire collection probably is that, because, these collections move from family to family down generations. So we can assume that the entire library is approximately of that age, because these bundles sort of move together, in not just as one or two bundles, but the whole package comes together. Like, for example, this Nadi reader, I know they have about 7,000 bundles, and they were all stored in, one was in the Saraswati Mahal, and then there's another temple, which is the Vetishwaran Kovil temple. Now, the Vetishwaran Kovil temple and the priests there are known to be caretakers of these Nadi bundles. The other thing that it established, not just the authenticity of the Nadi reading, that this is an old message. Of course, that's the last time it was transcribed. So even if it's even if it's like 250 years old, 350 years old, and even if it's 250 years old, let alone 5,000 years old, there's no way somebody 250 years ago would know that me, Vinita, will come on this date. This will be her, her name, her parents' name, her date of birth, what she'll be doing. There is no way this can happen. So the least that you can give it credit, it's at least 250 years old. Okay. Now, of course, we believe that it's, the message itself is more than 5,000 years ago, and it's been copied over. The message has been copied over. The other thing it establishes is what the Nadi readers, these families, keep saying, is that it's Sarfoji Maharaj, it's Sarfoji. Now, this Nadi reader belongs to the Arul Shiva Arumagam family, which is that famous family. And if you go to their website, they'll say, Sarfoji, he's the one who did it. Now, my leaf actually, and he's from that family, my leaf actually matches their verbal history, because, a lot of the history, unfortunately, is a verbal history. They don't have any proof. They can't give me any evidence when they say, my great grandfather was this or this happened. There's no proof. But here, because I have carbon dated the leaf, I have at least proven that this age of the leaf matches Sarfoji Maharaj's reign in Tanjore, because Sarfoji ruled from 1798 to 1832. So that span overlaps the age of my leaf. So, like I said, the traditional accounts match the carbon dating of this leaf, which is, again, unprecedented. Nobody has ever established the Nadi history till now. And like I said, there's only 2 leaves that have been carbon dated. So establishing this history is something I feel the government of India should also keep track of, that yes, we have proof that these are old, which period they belong to, and so on. So that was an important revelation that I wanted to bring in this. And this is going to be in my book, because I'm publishing a book. It's going to be released in June. It's called Return of the Rishis. And that will have the history of the Nadis and a lot of other research that I've done, plus my own story of how I found and what happened, and world predictions, because in my Nadi leaf, a lot of world predictions have come, and a lot of them have actually come true also. So this study will also be in my book. The other thing is the mystery of the script. Now, you see, the Nadi is written in an older Tamil script. So, of course, you have the Tamil verbal language. Now, a verbal language can be written in multiple scripts. Nowadays, a lot of people are writing Hindi in the Western script, in the English script. So the language is different from the script, okay? So one of the things that I wanted to also talk about is the script that was used. Now, the leaf is written in a script called Vattilatu script. That script was prevalent in Tamil Nadu from the 4th century till actually about the 8th century. 9th century was more in Kerala. So then I studied all the scripts and the history of the scripts in Tamil Nadu to understand how come this Nadis are written in Vattilatu. Now, Vattilatu is extinct. It does not exist. So how would it be possible that 250 years ago or 350 years ago, when this transcription was taking place, these people who were the scribes, who were etching these on these leaves, have to be familiar with this extinct script. So they were obviously trained in knowing how to write. It is like if you write in an older version of the Devanagari script, a lot of the letters change, even in the Devanagari script, right? So this Vatiletu script came from the Brahmi script, which was from 300 BCE to 500 CE. Okay. Now, the other thing is that a lot of people think, or if you go to Wikipedia or any encyclopedia, or if you do research, there is a very Western outlook that Brahmi script came from the Middle Eastern scripts, and that is not really feasible or plausible. So I was wondering, how is it possible? Because we have history in India, which is the Indus Valley civilization. There is a person, he's come up with this theory. He's called Yajnadevam, and you can look up his study. He argues that the Indus is the parent of the Brahmi, okay, not the Middle Eastern or the Indo-European scripts. He says it is the Brahmi's parent is actually the Indus script. So he's written a paper, and you can read the paper, or you can go on YouTube and read his whole research. But he has decoded the Indus script, and he's actually a scholar, a researcher in the US. He's an Indian American, and he actually reads the Indus script. He says, this is Sanskrit. This is the old Sanskrit, or what you call Proto-Sanskrit. This is something you must keep an eye on, because this ancient script, which is prior to the Brahmi, which is the Indus script, and it's called Proto-Sanskrit. And if you remember this, what I'm telling you, because what is happening is now, as you may know, the US government has done UFO disclosure. And I don't know how many of you know this, but there has been the government of United States has done public disclosure of UFOs. And one of the things is, on these UFOs or spaceships, there is the same Proto-Sanskrit script written on it. If someone messages me, I can show you all that evidence and everything. But on those things, they have talked about lokas, not, it says lokas. And then the CIA or FBI said, this is a Sanskrit term, lokas. But the script is very close to the Indus script or the Brahmi script. It's the Proto-Sanskrit script. So anyway, I wanted to bring this in because this script is a very important part of knowing the history of Nadi, knowing the history of humanity, and being able to decode what is the actual origins of this knowledge, of this thing. It was within India. It did not come from outside Bharat. So this is a very important point also. So then the other thing is that nobody has documented, and there's so many Nadi readers, and they're busy doing their business, but of Nadi reading and providing their service of reading. But none of them are really scholars, they're priests and all that. Nobody documented how many types of Nadis are there, how many types of these Shastras are there, Nadi Shastra are there. So then I started collecting this from the Nadi community, because I know another person, Shashikant Oak, who is a well-known personality in Nadi, and he spent four to 5 decades he's a Nadi enthusiast as well. So in his community, I asked and gathered all the names of all the different types of Nadis. Then I talked to very senior Nadi readers. So I was collecting all this information to find out how many types of Nadis there are. And as you can see, these are all these various types of Nadis in southern India. So these are all written in Tamil. And this only shows the Shivanadi. So Shivanadi is one of the most precise predictions, and that has 3 branches: the Shiva Sukshma, Shiva Tulya, and Ati Sukshma. But here you will see a lot of things like Nandi Nadi, then there is Ganesh Nadi. How is it possible? Like, how are they? I mean, obviously, these deities, these divine beings cannot write it. It's not that. You see, what I said is that these divine beings, whether it's Shiva or Ganesh or any of these divine beings, used to telepathically give the message to the rishis, to the gurus, to, a siddha, and they used to either write it themselves or they would speak it, and their disciples were sitting around and they used to be the scribes, etching it on the palm leaves or um, whatever the medium is. And then in the north, of course, there are also many others. The most famous one is called Brighu Samhita, which some of you might have heard of, is the Brighu Samhita, which is in North India. But then there are several others that I documented are belonging in Northern India. In Odisha, some of you might have heard of these pothis, or samhitas. And there were 5 saints in the 15th century. And one of them was Achyutanandas ji. And I don't know if you've heard of the Bhavishya Malika, but Achyutanandas ji and these Panchasakhas, they also wrote many shastras, lot of texts. But in those texts, some of them were also about predictions for the future, and that's what is called Bhavishya Malika. So these are all based on predictions. All these texts that I'm mentioning here, they are all based on predictions. But these are some of the northern samhitas. Now, these are usually written in Sanskrit, and they are either on palm leaves, pothis, or they can be copper plates also. So there are some I know in Odisha also which are written in copper plates. One thing I would mention to you before I go on to the chapters is there is another very mystical thing, and I have experienced it myself, and I know firsthand experiences where there are also blank bundles. They are blank, the leaf is completely blank, and it's called the Jiva Nadi. So where the letters will appear on the leaf as the seeker asks the question. So Jiva means it's live, it's alive. And I know this, there's, of course, I don't have a video or I don't have proof, but I have firsthand experience, and so do several people I know, where these letters will appear on a blank palm leaf. And I know it sounds miraculous, but it is true. And these things have been kept very much under the wraps, very much secret, and nobody talks about it much. It won't happen for everyone. It will only appear for certain people. I'm also seeking out another one. I'm hoping to find one. But these are in the realm of the occult, it's sort of like, how is this possible? There is divinations, there are things that we cannot understand, because I'm talking spiritually now. I feel, of course, you will find your Nadi leaf only when you are meant to find the Nadi leaf. I have certain theories about whether these palm leaves are actually written when you're supposed to find it. How is it the Jeev Nadi is producing these letters? We don't know. Because you see, the rishis transcend time. They have all the siddhis. They are beyond our comprehension. So while we do our scientific study, unless and until we evolve to the levels of the rishis, we cannot really understand the mechanism by which this works. So while we have to be scientific, but we should also be open to the realm of spirituality, to leave some scope for divinations or certain mystical things happening. At least that's my approach. Now, in the Nadi itself has a certain protocol, a certain standard of writing. So when a rishi writes this Nadi, it will have a certain number of chapters. So like when you go for Jyotish, if you know anything about Jyotish, the fundamental thing is there are 12 zodiacs, there are 12 rashis, there are 12 houses. And each house is for a different topic in our life, like second is for wealth and family, third is for sibling, this is very standard Jyotish. So Nadi Jyotisham is also based on Jyotish because it's the same rishis. The same rishis wrote Jyotish, the same rishis wrote the Nadi. So the principles are the same. Now, just like professors, when professors write a research paper, they have to follow certain principles, certain theories, certain established rules. So when writing a Nadi, you refer to the rules of the Jyotish, you follow certain formats. So the format is that the first chapter will be for the first house, second chapter, and like so on and so forth. There will be 12 chapters. Actually, there are 13 and 14 as well, which is called the Shanti and Diksha. But there are all these, now all of these chapters were also not really fully documented anywhere because some of them are very rare chapters. So the Nadi is really like a book with many, many, many chapters. Usually when somebody goes for a Nadi reading, they get their first general chapter read, which is a summary of all the other chapters. And they think, okay, that's it. I've had my Nadi read. You just had, 1/15 of your Nadi read because that's just the first chapter. And the first chapter will summarize all the other chapters. I've had several of these read. I haven't found all my chapters and all, the Nadi readings that I've had because I've had so many Nadi readings. I had the Bhrigu Nadi read, and Bhrigu Rishi was generous enough to write most of these chapters for me. I've had of course, the Shanti Diksha read. I've had the Prashnakand. So Prashnakand is like the question and answer. You can submit 5 questions. It's like Prashna Kundali, like in Jyotish. Similar way, you submit. Now they go looking in their library if the answer is pre-written. The first time I had my Prashnakand read, it was really astonishing for me. It was, I asked these 5 questions at 10:20 a.m. on May 23rd, 2024. And he went and made out the Prashna Kundali, the chart of what the sky looked like when Vinita asked these questions. And within 2 hours, he went in his library, found the leaf. And the leaf, of course, is supposedly pre-written, because you can see everything on the leaf. The answer to the questions that I literally asked 2 hours ago were pre-written, obviously thousands of years ago. The sequence in which I had asked the questions, which I thought was just like random, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's we have to understand this in a sense of transcending time, as though everything is happening now, because there's no way this can be explained. And that's when I had asked, should I write this book on Nadi? And then Shiva said, this was a Shiva Nadi, and Shiva said, Shiva, Parvati, the 7 rishis and the 18 munis all give you their blessings to write this book. So, and that was so mystical for me. How is it possible that they would even know I'm going to ask this question, So there are many things, the Gyan Kandam, which is your spiritual life and future and guidance, what sadhana, what meditation, what mantras, what you should do, which has been my guiding light as well. So these are all the chapters in the Nadi. Very useful, the rishis have always given us guidance and useful things, it's never, not even a single word is of waste. By the way, I had a Prashnakand reading this morning itself. And like I said, in many of my Nadis, I have been given world predictions. Suddenly, a lot of world predictions have been coming, like the Iran war that was predicted, because I'd asked about 2026 in my Prashna, the Iran war, the UFO disclosure, several of these things which I asked in December of 2025 have already, literally on the month, these predictions have been coming, and the predictions are going to be in my book, Return of the Rishis. So yes, the unfortunate problem is that there is slow deterioration. These Nadi leaves have not been digitized, and it's the only way I can see this living on in another 100 years is, you know, either Jeevanadis or something, because a lot of these bundles are now breaking apart. Many of these bundles can no longer be read. And in my Prashna, I had asked Shiva, should I work with the government of India to digitize these Nadi leaves? And Shiva said, no, 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 please don't bother. We are in charge. We know what we're doing. Do not worry about the preservation of these leaves. So I do not know what is the divine plan, but I know that this will not carry on for another, 100 years or so. So we may be the last few generations that would be getting their Nadi read, because, they're in very bad shape. So let's see how long they will last. And that's all I had to say today. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Or if you want me to repeat anything, I'm happy to go over that.
Thank you. Thank God, Didi. It's really wonderful for us. Actually, this all part is not much familiar to all of us. So this is like the new gallery opened for us. एक नया दरवाजा हम सभी के लिए खुला हुआ है. एक नया उसके लिए हम कि में इस विषय में कुछ करने की जिज्ञासा अगर हो, दिशा में आगे बढ़ सकेंगे. क्योंकि अभी हम जिस रीजन में हैं, इस रीजन में भी कुछ असल कल रात में अपना कलेक्शन के इसमें we have around 22 lakhs manuscripts available with us. So in that, few among them are here in this region, in Tibet and in Gangetok also. So humbly thank to you again for this wonderful session for all of us. If there will be any questions, I will collect it and definitely I will send it to you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. You are muted. Thank you. So now it's a 10 minutes break and we'll meet after 10 minutes.